Welcome everybody. How are we doing? Good? Come on, yes. Motorsport fans in the room. Anybody? Hands? Yeah, one or two. Excellent. Who's heard of Manthey before? Wow, a lot of you. That's great. It means I'm doing my job. Excellent. Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit more about Manthey as a whole and what the latest developments are. So I was here 2 years ago at Tech Tactics to talk about this, and there's been quite a bit of development since. And yeah, I love being in a room full of like-minded enthusiasts like you, and we can just have fun talking about these really cool and exciting products. So my background's marketing, so I always love to start with a video. So just make sure this is turned up. There you go. So that's the latest kit on the block, the latest GT3 kit, and we'll go into that in a bit more detail, as well as the GT3 RS. And for those who haven't spotted already, we've got a treat next door in terms of the GT3 RS we have to show you today. So just a bit of background for me. As you can tell from my accent, I'm not from around here. But yeah, originally from the UK, been over here with PCNA for almost 3 years now, but been with Porsche now for 20 years this year. So I've been very fortunate enough to have lots of great experiences with the brand, you know, years upon years of Goodwood Festival of Speed, and so I think I did 10 years in a row of those, which was fantastic. Had lots of connection with the GT team in Flacht, so interesting insider story for you all was whenever we produce a new vehicle, whether it be a GT3 RS or a Boxster GTS, what have you, obviously we have to homologate those vehicles, and we have to go through that process, that certification and legislation. And we have to do that for left-hand drive cars and, of course, right-hand drive cars. So the guys in Germany would build up a right-hand drive car, put it through the homologation process, and then, as my colleague once said, he said, after that, it's like warm beer. No one really wants it. So, so they then say, well, UK, you can have that car, and we'd have the pleasure of heading over to Weissach and collecting those cars and driving them back to the UK. And so I've been very fortunate to do a bit of that. And also projects like British Legends Edition is another special edition vehicle I worked on. That was celebrating 45 years of British drivers winning Le Mans for Porsche. So Richard Attwood in 1970, Nick Tandy in 2015 in the 919. So we did this special edition vehicle. Derek Bell, of course, winning 5 in between. So that was really fun and exciting product to work on as well. So lots of history with Porsche, and as I say, it's certainly under my skin, as I'm sure it is yours. I should say. So my responsibilities within Porsche Cars North America is everything accessories. So all of the textiles, all of the e-bikes, all of the art sculptures that you might see that you're able to purchase, all of that, all of the vehicle accessories as well, from cargo liners, winter wheels and tires, and exhaust systems and so on. And within that, Manthey sits there. So these are vehicle accessories essentially, although on another level, of course. A few questions, pop quiz. What's this car? Who wants to tell me? Who's go first? Safety car, somebody said, yeah? WEC safety car, absolutely. So it's a 911 Turbo S, and this is the safety car that we'll use in all those races around the world. So again, sometimes a misconception is WEC is Europe and European tracks. It's not. It's globally. It's Fuji. It's even Austin, Texas. It's all over the world, and this is the safety car. What car's this? GT3 RS? Anything more? Manthey Kit? Absolutely. One more special thing about this car. There you go, absolutely. So all three of those together, yeah, this is the car that took the record around the Nurburgring for production car. So this held the record from 2021 until 2024. And then the AMG one took it back, but outside of AMG 1, which is obviously a hypercar, this is the fastest production car in the world. So that's quite a statement. This car is actually in the US at the moment, so we're doing a little tour with it. So if you hear of activity going on in your Porsche Center, an event to do with Manthey, make sure you get down there, and there's a chance you may well see this car. Next up. Look familiar? Any movie fans here? No? Anyone? Absolutely, from F1 movies. So yes, this is the GT3R. And as you can see, Chip Hart Racing, so anyone that's seen the Formula One movie, that's who Sonny Hayes was racing for at the start of the movie at Daytona. And you can see this livery. This isn't just from the movie, because last year at Le Mans 24 Hour, we actually raced with this livery. So this car, and that's why you can see on the side, LMGT3, because this car actually competed at Le Mans. And you'll see also a little logo on the front of the vehicle there. And last but not least, easy one. Pink Pig. There we go, yeah, Pink Pig winning at Le Mans. So what do all of those images have in common? All Manthey, absolutely, every single one. So the safety car that's operating the running for WEC, Manthey look after that. Manthey make sure that car is set up, they maintain it, they look after it. The GT2 RS Manthey Kit, lap record, obviously that's also a car Manthey look after and run. We've got the Chip Hart Racing car on the left, as I say. This picture was actually taken at Le Mans, so hence you can see all the trophies at the front there. So that competed there. And then the Pink Pig car, and this is again people don't often realize this, that Pink Pig car as well as the Rothmans car, those cars were Manthey cars. Whilst they had Porsche and competed under Porsche, that was actually Manthey. So those cars would sit in the Manthey race bays at their operation, not Stuttgart, not Weissach, it would be in Moispath. So, and they still have the hoods on the wall and some of the old parts from those cars, which is great to see. And as I say, this picture was taken after Le Mans. The first form car in the middle that won the GT3 LM class for the second year in a row. So Manthey, since that class has come to be, they've won 100%. And we've also got the Iron Dames car, which of course is the all-female driving squad, and that was also looked after by Manthey as well. So they've got a long history of success. We'll just cover quickly what we'll go through. So a few different arms of Manthey: racing, road car. We'll cover it all, and then we'll have a look at our alignment system, which we have next door for the geeks and the nerds in the room like me. Right, so quick overview of who Manthey are and where they came from. So first of all, 30th anniversary this year for Manthey, which is great. They're 51% owned by Porsche. So that's a key thing here. You know, for again the real race fans in the room, you know, where we see Rexy for AO Racing and we see Wright Motorsports, obviously they're also competing in a GT3R in the same series. But so when we go racing, we have to have Manthey and AO all treated the same. Of course, we can't give favoritism. But the reality is, yes, 51% of Manthey are owned by Porsche, so it's actually within our interest. Yes?
When was that purchase or acquisition made?
2013 is when that happened. So without going too much into the details, Olaf Manthey needed to find a successor for his company. Nicky and Martin Rader were running Rader Motorsport at the same time, multi-brand operation. And then they decided to merge. And at that time, they reached out to Porsche and wanted to know if they wanted to invest as well. So then Porsche came in and acquired 51% of the company as well. It was at that point then a lot of things started being assigned to Manthey to look after on behalf of Porsche and the Porsche race teams. It's a growing company right next to the Nurburgring, and we'll show you that in a moment, but really starting to boom. And when you look at the right-hand side there, I won't list them out now, but you can see the achievements of this. If there's anything endurance racing out there, Manthey have won it. You know, Bathurst, Le Mans, Nurburgring, you know, 7 times Nurburgring, I should say, you know, DTM champions last year, which actually, who wants to see the last lap of the DTM championship? Yeah?
I just read about it in Excellent.
Just read about it?
Yeah.
It's
I heard it's crazy.
I'll say no more. Let's have a watch, okay?
The first ever Turkish driver to win the DTM championship. He comes through, he goes through, they're going to get one more lap at this, and just didn't quite squeeze through, so going to get a final lap. They must have crossed the line with about a second left on it, so even more stress, he's got to do it one more time. Goodness me, 4.5 kilometres has never felt so long.
Oh, what an insane finish to the race. So Jordan Pepper also receiving the black flag. The stewards are clearly absolutely certain about the decision they made to do with that overtaking issue. But that's irrelevant for the championship now, because Iron Good into the hairpin. Marco Wittmann is closed up again. One last chance.
Here we go. Defend like you've never defended before. He thought he got it done. He's got to do it again. Marco Wittmann's almost into the back. And Iron Good, you're on board now with him. So now he really has got half a lap to go. Oh, he could do without any stress. Marco Wittmann is almost pushing him through turn 7. There's about 2 inches between them. He tries the outside line. Marco Wittmann never ever gives up. He's trying to get on the inside. Iron Good closes the door, goes through that sequence of corners, gets out of turn 11 into the final sector, and now he defends. Here comes Marco Wittmann at the inside of him, and Marco Wittmann, with a few corners to go, gets the lead of the race. And if Lucas Auer is promoted up to 4th place, it's going to change back into the lead of the race. He will not give up, he will not yield. He's got to win this race to make sure he wins the championship. Brilliant stuff. What a battle this has been. Through the final corner. This time he's done it, but Marco Wittmann is going to push him all the way to the line. Now he sees the flag. Now he's the champion. Wow. Have you ever seen anything like that? Wow. Oh my goodness. He could have done with that one more lap. We could have all done with that one more lap. I must have crossed the line with about a second to spare. He had to do it all again. And he lost the lead of the race. He lost it. But what grit, what determination.
There we go. Say no.
What about track limits?
Well, he actually had, in DTM, it's not as severe as it might be in Formula One, track limits. So he had 2 wheels still on the tarmac, on the track. So effectively, it's a fair pass. So yeah, very aggressive, and as aggressive as it gets. So Yeah, and again, that was, as well as winning the overall championship there with Guvan, we also won the rookie championship as well with Thomas Schuring. So it's, incredible moment. And really behind why Manthey went into DTM was, you know, there was a view of, well, Manthey win everything endurance. You know, endurance racing is their thing, but they don't really win on Grand Prix tracks. So they said, okay, we'll prove you wrong then. So that's why they entered DTM and immediately doing things like that. So that's amazing. We also work a lot on the lap record attempts, Manthey, which we'll come on to a little bit more. This is the full lineup of race cars that we had last year. So, as I say, the top two on the left, they were the first form and Iron Dames car that we had in the World Endurance Championship. The Chip Hart racing car was just for Le Mans only, so these were the two regular ones, and it was the first form one won the championship outright. Then we have the Nurburgring car, and the three DTM cars, the rookie car and the other two that you just saw in the race there, Guvan's car on the left-hand side there. These are all sporting the famous Grello livery, which is essentially the Manthey livery. So whenever you see this Grello car, that means it's a Manthey car. We've done that. So why are we here talking about Manthey now? So as the popularity of these Manthey road car products really takes form, we're seeing that the US is a huge and the biggest market for Manthey products, and therefore it makes absolute sense that Manthey are here racing as well in the US. We know that in Europe, Manthey are very famous, reputable, well regarded, and everybody knows their achievements. But here in the US, a lot of people, bless you, a lot of people maybe not so much realizing what they're doing and what they have done. So as of Daytona, Manthey are now competing in IMSA. So we will compete in the Endurance Cup. So that's Daytona, Sebring, which is next month, of course, the Watkins Glen, Petit Le Mans at the end, and one more, Road America. So those 5 endurance races Manthey will be competing in. So bringing the Grello over, and who watched Daytona here in the room? A few of you? Okay, excellent. So you'll know that Manthey were very competitive, which was actually surprising in a way after qualifying. And actually with an hour to go, or an hour and a half to go, the Grello was in the lead of the GTD Pro class. So Guvan, actually, who we just saw, he came out of the car super pumped. He was excited. He was in second place, came into the pits for his stop and driver change, and then there was a crash. Safety car meant the car came out in first with, like, as I say, an hour and a half to go, and it was like, oh, it's on, here we go. Sadly, the very last throws of the race, as you do with these endurance races, you save a bit of performance for the end, and some of our competitors just had that pace at the end that we couldn't maintain, but still a very good 5th place finish in the end. So yeah, very encouraging for the next few races. This is the Manthey facility, but I just really wanted to walk you through, and some people might think, okay, it's quite a small business, but this will really show you not. So the blue building down the bottom there, that's the very first building, so that's where actually Olaf Manthey used to live as well as work. So him and his family would live upstairs. But now that this is, as well as the Porsche track experience, which I'll come on to in a moment, there's also a full machinery warehouse. So we'll see the alignment system in a moment, which has tables and it has measuring wheels. Manthey buy in the steel and then machine it, laser pressure and pressure cut it. in-house. So they're even producing a special model, GT4 RS Club Sport model, where they'll make the plaques to go on the dashboard, and they make them all in-house. So it's an engineering company also. We have over here 2 buildings. The first building is the preparation area, or the preparation workshop for cup cars, for GT3 cup cars. So all the GT3 cup cars are built in Zuffenhausen on the line, just like your 911 GTS and so on, goes along the line. And then goes to Manthey. That's where they'll put the air jacks in, they'll put the fire extinguisher in, you know, whichever racing seat is going in there, and then do that final alignment and preparation before it goes off to the race team. So every single cup car around the world, whether it's in the Porsche Super Cup, the Carrera Cup, Asia and Le Mans, or it's the very own Carrera Cup North America right here, every single cup car goes through Manthey for the final configuration. And then the next building above it, that is where what used to be the RSR workshop and now is the GT3R workshop. So that's where the race bays are. There's no lifts in there like we have here, because obviously they don't have lifts at racetracks, so they just literally have axle stands, and they put the cars on and lift them up with the hydraulic jacks on the car and so on. But that's where all the flight cases will be, so they can go around the world to the various races. So quite something. It's amazing to see them doing their pit stop practices in there, and yeah, it's great. Then we have the R&D workshop over to the left. So again, Porsche and Manthey are so integrated. You know, Porsche will support Manthey in development, and Manthey will support Porsche in development on certain projects. So there's a very close link, and that's the R&D workshop there for Manthey product. And then at the top, we've got the main service center. So anybody in Germany, if they want to get their Taycan serviced, can go to Manthey and have it done there. So equally, you know, they install a fair number of the Manthey kits as well. And at the very top there, that's the back straight of the Nurburgring. So they couldn't be any closer, literally a stone's throw. I won't go through all of this, but just pick out a couple of key moments. So as I say, 2013 is when the original merger happened. By 2015, they'd already won the World Endurance Championship with Manthey and Porsche to combine. So the success came immediately. And then we started looking into record laps. And it was 2017 when they did the first attempt with a GT3 RS. And that kind of set the tone of, okay, we can start doing a little bit more road car operations here. And it was a meeting with Olaf Manthey and Porsche, where they said, okay, if we produce these performance kits, how can we make sure that they're fully bona fide and available to Porsche customers? And that's exactly what they did. They said, we'll only do this if it ticks those boxes. So they agreed, and then in 2021 is when the GT2 RS did that record lap. And at the same time, we announced that all those products would be available through Porsche centers. Now, in the US, it wasn't until 2023 that we then launched the GT3 kit, GT3 RS, and GT2 RS came shortly after. And then we've got the other, more recent products, including the GT4 RS, which was also very popular. Porsche track experience. So, in Europe, Manthey also run the Porsche track experience. So we have it in the US here, we have it in Barber Motorsports Park, and soon to add a second location in Laguna Seca. So if you're interested in having those track experiences, getting out in some vehicles on track, getting some good driver coaching, please have a look into that. But in Europe, as I say, Manthey run it. So they have a fleet of over 100 vehicles, everything from a a Carrera GTS all the way up to a Cup car or RSR. Sometimes they'll wheel the pink pig out as well because that's still in their arsenal. So yeah, lots of cars, including the GT4 RS Club Sport, which was actually a Manthey development as well. So this as a product, Porsche came to Manthey and said, can you build a race car out of a GT4 RS? And Manthey said, sure, no problem. So that's where that came from. And this is another example. So the GT2 RS Club Sport Manthey 25. This was to celebrate the 25th anniversary. And we actually had one of these go up the hill at Goodwood Festival of Speed one year with Olaf Manthey driving. So that was quite special. And this is an overview of the kits that we currently offer. So as I say, GT2 RS and GT3 RS are very similar. Although one crazy thing about that kit is the whole back end is completely rebuilt. So when we produce these kits, one of the key elements is added downforce. And we'll talk about some of that data in a bit, but added downforce. And the level of downforce that we added to the GT3 RS and GT2 RS, the rear engine lid just couldn't cope. So the struts, the wing supports are attached to the engine lid on the 2RS and 3RS. We actually found it was pulling the engine lid off because there was that much force. So the whole back of the car needed to be redesigned. So again, from experience with the Cup car, we realized that those wing supports needed to be attached to the chassis. So on the kit, it's a whole new engine lid with cutouts, so the wing supports can be reattached, and then they're so much more firm and secure to cope with that extra downforce. Then, of course, GT3 came along in 2023. GT3 RS is the halo product, if you like, which we'll go into a bit of a deep dive on. We have the Touring and the GT4 showing that it doesn't necessarily always have to be a full extreme kit, and GT4 RS, and then the most recent is the GT3 that you'll see there. Incidentally, as well, you don't have to get the whole kit. That's again a common misconception is suspension, for example, the coilover suspension. If a customer just wanted that, absolutely fine, no problem. You don't have to get all the aero with it. Yep.
I have read that the rear discs are the most popular thing.
They're the most popular because they distinguish what a Manthey car is, the rear disc. Yeah, absolutely, and this is a key takeaway. There are lots of people that come along and say, I just want the rear disc, I just want the aero disc, can I have those? And the answer is no. Thank you, good night. Short answer is no, but the reason for that is the aero package is all as one. It's all a harmonized setup. You know, we add downforce at the front, at the rear, we reduce the drag, it's all a whole package. So if you then just focus on one part of the car's going to be imbalanced. So it has to have the whole aero package all as one. Equally, if you have all that aero package, well, you've got so much more downforce, probably twice the downforce in some cases, and therefore the suspension can't take it. The standard suspension can't cope with that extra pressure. So you have to have the suspension. So hence why, yes, you can have the suspension without the aero, but not the other way around. So why do we do it? What are our aims of a Manthey kit? So track focused. Again, this is something to be very clear on. We don't take a GT3 RS and say, right, let's make it better. We take a GT3 RS and say, okay, how can we make it even more focused for the track, even more designed for track? These products are for people that are regularly on track days, people that are trying to get the best out of their vehicle and enjoy the car on track. So again, people look at these cars and look at the design and go, wow, they look crazy and very difficult to drive. It's actually the opposite that we're achieving here. We want the cars to be stable. We want the cars to be controllable. The earlier that you can get it straightened up and you can get the car flat and straight and get on the power, the quicker your lap time's going to be. So we're actually trying to simplify those processes and keep the body planted through those high-speed corners and then keep the chassis nice and controlled. So that's the real focus of it. Factory warranty, so there's no change to the vehicle warranty, the new vehicle warranty when installing a kit, and also you get the standard 2 parts warranty as if you're buying an alternator, for example. We have 77 Porsche centers that are certified to install these kits. That's growing, that number. And they have the alignment system, which we're going to see in a moment. So all of them have that. And residual value, while we can't ever guarantee a certain residual value on these products, our indications show that a car with a Manthey kit is certainly likely to fetch more of have a higher market value than one without. Those are the 77 centers in the different states. As I say, that's forever growing. It was 42 at the end of last year and at the end of 2024, and it's 77 at the end of 2025. So you can see how that's growing. So as a quick overview, Manthey, big operation now. Racing, yes, we go racing in WEC, in IMSA, in DTM, and we win. That's what we do. And we also build race cars, so that things like the GT4 RS Club Sport, and if you see the Leichbau, one we've launched recently, that's an incredible car. Road cars, not only are we producing these road car kits and developing those products for road cars, but we're also managing all the lap record attempts for Porsche as well. So if you saw any lap record attempt that happens at the Nurburgring, that's Manthey that are doing that. Or even if you saw the Taycan Turbo GT record lap that happened at Laguna Seca last year, if you again watch that video, you'll see everyone's wearing Manthey clothing, because again, any record lap, you come to Manthey, make sure we use their engineers, their drivers, and make sure everything's the perfect setup. Incidentally, the lap that we saw at the start there on the GT3, the newest kit, interesting story behind that is, weather in Europe can be, let's call it unpredictable, right? So Manthey booked the Nurburgring for 10 days, right, to do that lap. And Gouvan, the driver, Jean Gouvan, that won the DTM championship, that guy, he was doing the lap attempt in the GT3 Manthey kit. So he's come along and he sat there in the office in Moispath on day 1, and it's raining, pouring down. Day 2, raining. 3, raining. Gets to day 10, and he's just been sat there in the office twiddling his thumbs. And finally, the clouds break, and it looks like they might get a lap in. So he gets in the car, and then that's all the video. Again, you can see all big jacket, still very cold. Parts of the track still damp, and they go out there and start warming up. So he goes and does a couple of reference laps, and then comes in. They're like, right, okay, now let's go for the proper lap. Rain comes in again. So the funny thing about this is, yes, a press release went out, and the car was faster than the stock car by about 3 seconds. In less than ideal conditions. Normally we'd hope for a bit more than that, about 7 seconds. If you go back and watch the onboard video of that lap, he's not even wearing his driving gloves. You can see he's just practicing. It's not a proper attempt. So without even trying, it was already 3 seconds faster in damp conditions. So we'll go back and do another lap eventually, but it's just a real indication. He himself, he said the car felt more like a race car than a road car. So Very interesting. And then the experiential side, PTX, as I say, the Porsche Track Experience, we're looking after that. So let's look at some of the details on the GT3. So fundamentally, when we do a Manthey kit, we look at aerodynamics, chassis, and brakes. Always those three things. Why do you think we don't do anything with the engine? That's a good answer. I love that. It's perfect already.
Yeah, it's hard to get incremental horsepower because it's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, I mean, again, the engine is built for purpose and is already a formidable engine, absolutely. There are two other reasons. One is, first and foremost, it's just not what Manthey do. You know, in WEC or IMSA, we can't suddenly just hike the horsepower by 50. You know, it's just not part of the remit. The second thing is, okay, a GT3R Evo using a 4.2 litre engine at 565 horsepower, and the GT3 RS is on, what, 520. So, okay, we're talking about 45 horsepower gain here, and the GT3R, sorry, has to be rebuilt after every race, basically. It has to be stripped down and rebuilt because the running time means it needs that maintenance. We don't have to do that with the GT3 RS, you know, so there's always a compromise. If we whack the horsepower up, we've only got to rebuild the engine regularly, and it's just not feasible for a regular car. So looking at the key features here, starting at the top, we've got brake lines here. This is, again, a constant across all our Manthey kits, and it goes back to that track purpose. The standard brake hoses are good and fine for everyday use, but when you start pumping in hard laps regularly, lap after lap, those can get very hot and then they can swell, and then your brake pedal can start to feel a little bit inconsistent. So these steel brake lines, they just stop that, keeping it consistent even when the brakes are very hot. The front lip, larger front lip there, and also the dive planes on the side, again, just increasing that downforce on the front end, just increasing the stability, particularly in those high-speed corners. That coupled with the rear wing, which is now larger. It's got a gurney integrated, and then you'll see the rear wing end plates are larger and tucked in the lower section. So it complements the airflow as it's coming up around the car. We can actually guide the airflow through the spoiler how we want. And then, of course, we've got the aero discs on the rear. A key thing, again, with aero when we do these kits, we have to work within a real limitation. Legislation here in the US is maybe not as strict as it is in some other countries, but essentially when a new car is produced, say a GT3, and we say, okay, that emits 289 grams per kilometer of CO2 out the back. And often that number dictates in Europe how much road tax you might pay or how much other things that you might pay. So obviously the lower the number, the cheaper some of those fees might be in the end. If somebody buys a car and it says it's 289 and then we put a kit on it and we increase the downforce and drag, well, it's going to have more emissions. So therefore it doesn't comply with that legislation anymore. So, and we would have to recertify the whole car, which would be a nightmare. So we have to make sure that we increase downforce, yes, but do not increase drag. So with the GT3 RS, for example, the downforce has been increased by 20%, but the drag has not been increased at all. So top speed, exactly the same. Everything exactly the same. So you get all the benefits of the downforce with no drag. So a lot of these aerodynamic parts are designed to do that, and that particularly with the aero disc, that helps drag stay at zero increase and helps us with the downforce. And underneath the vehicle is a huge reason for this downforce. So The rear diffuser, which we'll be able to have a look at, that is pretty much the same on GT3 and GT3 RS, is now huge, a huge rear diffuser, about 60 inches in length, I think it is. And we flatten out the underside of the car and then try and, again, guide the airflow how we want to. A lot of, again, I sometimes see these people with rear wings that are this high, you know, above the vehicle, and you know what people don't realize, it's the negative space you're trying to work with aero. It's, you know, high pressure wants to join low pressure, and you're always trying to get the maximum performance through that negative space, and that's what we're doing here. We're creating negative space. We're activating the air underneath the vehicle. So when I see these spoilers up this high, I think it's not doing anything. So, but we'll have a look at that rear diffuser in a moment. We'll come on to the GT3 RS now. So for those that haven't been next door yet, yeah, really happy to bring something special. So this is the GT3 RS that we used as the safety car at Daytona. So this led the cars to green, and this is the car that we have next door, which we'll show you in a moment. And let's look at some of the features on this. So brake lines we've already covered. What's a real step ahead here is the suspension. On the GT3, we use a coilover suspension kit, four-way adjustable. For the first time on this car, we're using a semi-active coilover suspension setup. So fully adjustable compression, rebound inside the car. You can use the dials to adjust all your compression and rebound. However, on this one, we have a separate control unit. We have a sensor on each damper, and then we have 3 sensors on the body as well, 2 on the front and 1 on the rear. That means that we can see where the body is in relation to the dampers the entire time, and then that feeds into the control unit. And then if we suddenly have a large braking zone coming up to a hairpin or something, and then the nose wants to dip and then lean to the left, immediately the control unit will pick that up, and it will be able to stiffen the dampers at the front or the damper on the left if we need to, and therefore again try and keep the car as straight as possible and as balanced as possible. And that's constantly analyzing and feeding information. Then going into the other aero parts, you'll see at the front, again, a larger front splitter, but we've got these carbon fiber rods as well. Anybody want to hazard a guess as to how much downforce this can generate, the GT3 RS? In pounds, how much downforce do we think? What kind of weight would we expect on the car at about 180?
I thought it was like 1,200 pounds.
1,200? Any more?
I thought for the GT3.
I think like 2,000, some insane amount.
Some insane amount, absolutely. Correct. 2,200 pounds. Yeah. So it's that's in full track mode. So even on the GT3, that's I'm trying to remember now. I think it's 800 pounds on a GT3. So which is a big increase from the standard car as well. So yeah, you literally got another car on the roof of this car at speed, and lots of, again, details in the aero. The rear wing end plates you can see have got a few design elements there. This is all functional to reduce the drag, which we'll show you in a moment. And of course, the big shark fin that you can see there. So as well as that looking awesome, well, you can all agree, we take out the rear window, we put in a carbon fiber cover, and then the shark fin is attached to that, and that's also carbon fiber, of course. This, as well as providing aerodynamic stability through those high-speed corners, it's actually lighter as well, because we save 25% of the weight when the gas comes out versus the carbon fiber. So again, all very functional.
Using a camera for rear visibility?
No. So there are some Porsche centers out there that are able to supply that kind of product, and those products are available, but it's not part of the kit. Again, two reasons. One is Manthey aren't really an electronics company, so that's not the kind of product that they would offer. The second is legally we're not required to. So the wing mirrors serve enough for the legislation that you don't have to have a rear view mirror. With that said, you know, if I'm on track, I'm actually rarely looking in my rearview mirror. I'm looking left, I'm looking right, because, you know, that's where my attacks are going to come from. So, not that I get attacked on a track, obviously, I'm always miles ahead. Yeah, so, and then we've got, as I say, that huge rear diffuser, which we'll check out in a moment, but the whole underbody is designed to send airflow straight through. This section here, that's also a carbon fiber panel as well. Again, it's open on the standard car, but we smooth that over. And these are some impressions of the development. Again, you saw from the video at the start, when they were in the wind tunnel and they were analyzing the airflow, that was actually the wind tunnel in Weissach, so the Porsche wind tunnel in Weissach. So again, Manthey have access to that when they're developing these kits. And typically, when we get a car, it takes about 6 months alone just to benchmark a car, just to understand a car. Manthey can't get to work on a vehicle until Porsche have finished with it. And for anybody that knows much about development process, when you look at, again, a new vehicle like a GT3 RS, there are many phases in that prototype stage, including when we get to the end and we get to pre-series, which is essentially, okay, the car's done and this is how it's going to be designed. There's still 3 phases in that pre-series phase where we might not be using the finalized parts yet. So it's so late, only when the car goes into production is it 100% finalized and signed off. So we can't get to work on the Manthey kit development until the car is completely done and finished. Otherwise, it's wasted effort. So Manthey will do hours and hours of testing, obviously on the Nurburgring. We go into the wind tunnel. You can see all the telemetry, all the data, which we have to analyze, which is, again, a carryover from the race teams, where we're monitoring that telemetry in the race team. So the same engineers will hop from the Grello over to this kit and then back again. So there's a real exchange, again, true race-to-road technology. Information, where do we keep all of this? We have the online equipment finder, or accessories finder as it's now called. This gives all the information about the products that are available separately, as well as full detailed information on each kit. What's interesting as well, and you can see from the right-hand side, on that same accessories finder, we have a wheel visualizer as well, where you can select a winter wheel and tire, or a summer wheel and tire, or a lightweight wheel and tire, and then you can see what that'll look like on your car. These lightweight wheels that you can see we're offering through Porsche now, they're on the configurator for 911 Turbo, GTS models. We've launched some for GT4. These lightweight wheels, despite them not saying immediately, they're actually made by Manthey. So recently Manthey found it a struggle to get wheels from a supplier, so then just went, well, should we just make our own then? And they went, yeah. So they bought part of BBS, the company, and then bought their facilities, and now Manthey make their own wheels. So actually when you look here, while it's listed as a lightweight wheel, you can actually see in the description here it's produced by Manthey. So again, Porsche, Manthey, again, just integrating more and more every day. As I say, Grello is the famous Manthey livery. You'll see lots of other products that are available if there are any track fans here. You can even get a helmet case, a Grello helmet case, a car cover or key sides. So again, we like to keep this grello theme going. Yeah, last but not least, you'll see one of the earlier grellos here, the RSR grello. We'll now go through and take you through to next door, where we'll look at the alignment system. Again, as a reminder, this is the alignment system that Manthey use at Le Mans. This is the alignment system they just used at Daytona, and it's exactly the same alignment system that our 77 Porsche centers have within their workshop. So when you go there for an alignment, and by the way, you don't need to have a Manthey car for this. It can go all the way back to F model. You can take it in and get it set up on this alignment tool if you wanted. And the way this is really different is we work on absolute value. So a lot of the typical alignment systems, they will operate in a tolerance. This is absolute value, so it's the most precise tool. And as I say, we'll take you next door and we'll show you exactly why. You'll see that while we've given this a slight wipe down, I say we, that's a royal we, Rolf did. You can still see it's got a bit of tyre debris straight from the track at Daytona. So I shouldn't have been, but I was slightly pleased with all the incidents in the first hour because we got some great camera time with this car. So I didn't will for crashes to happen, but yeah, it wasn't bad when it did. So we're happy to have this car here, and we can really start to show you some of the details on the car as well as the alignment system itself. So first of all, you can see underneath the car that panel at the front where it's now completely flat, and that front end, you can see the carbon fiber rods there. Those carbon fiber rods have actually got, they're spring loaded. So if you were to hit a curb or something, that actually has the ability to push up and then come back down again and be fine. So again, these are little details which just add that value. Coming all the way to the back, you can then see, the size of that rear diffuser. Again, carbon fiber. You'll see not only how it's fanned out, but how it has different stages of trajectory effectively. So it's trying to always work on the air. It's trying to work those negative spaces and trying to pull the air up towards the surface and therefore pull the car down to the ground. So, and then we have the actual alignment system itself here. What we do first of all, I don't know if you want to demonstrate. So again, racetracks are exciting places to go to, and it's great that they'll set up a paddock where we can set the cars up. Now these paddocks are not always perfectly straight, they're not always flat, but when we're trying to set a car up, we need to make sure that everything is again perfect, dialed in. So to do that, we have to make sure that the platform that the car sits on is 100% accurate, flat, done. So that's why first of all, we take the wheels and tires off the car, because that's already a huge variable. Tire pressures, tire wear, it's just a variable that you want to take out of the equation. So we take them off, we put these measuring wheels. These are what I mentioned earlier. So you see the steel element of these measuring wheels. These were cut at Manthey themselves and made in-house. So we put this together, attach it to the vehicle, and then we use this self-leveling laser, as you can see at the front here. Using the different platforms, we set up a lug. There we go, Rolf's doing it, my beautiful assistant here. You can see, for some of you around this side, you might be able to see there's a ring, a metal ring on that lug. And the laser is touching that ring, it's lighting up that ring. That means it's perfectly level and straight. We can adjust each leg of the table, so we can make sure that each leg, each side of the platform is perfectly level with that laser. And we do that on each 4 corners, and then that means that we have our 100% flat surface to work from, even if the paddock might be slightly leaning. Then we bring the car down and we sit it on these platforms, and as well as the platforms looking nice, they're also scales as well. So we can weigh the car and we can check the corner weights. And for those that can see on the screen behind, this is live, real time. And so we're going to put the car down onto the scales, and then you'll be able to see how the corner weights are measured. There we go. So right, we're down, and now we can already see that the weights are being measured there. Again, the analogy I often like to use, and this suspension is a coilover suspension kit, which essentially means you can, as well as the spring rates being stiffer on this car, you can also essentially adjust the length of the strut. What that means, again, if we're trying to get the car perfectly flat and straight, we need to make sure that everything is measured to the 9th degree. For those that you can see, there'll be weight bags in the driver's seat there. We also have some in the front here if we need to simulate fuel. This is it's always a fun conversation when somebody's getting their car aligned. How much do you weigh? Well, in the morning, you know, after breakfast, you know, it's so we can set the car up, and we're looking for the weight with the helmet, you know, the driver, everything, so we can make sure the car is set up exactly as it needs to be when the driver is in it. You can see, literally, if I just lean on there, on the wing, you can see how much it's changing on the screen immediately. We then get the car set up exactly as it needs to be for the driver, and then we measure the corner weights. Now, if the corner weights are off, we can again use those coilovers to adjust the length and make sure that the weight is perfectly distributed from corner to corner. Again, the analogy I use is you know, a table, and if you've got one leg longer than the other, obviously it's going to rock. So imagine driving a race car that's rocking. You just don't want that. So you want it perfectly flat and no rocking whatsoever. And that's what we can do with this. We effectively then can turn on the lasers here, and then that can give us our measurement where we can measure the toe. We've got camber gauges where we can measure that. And the glory with this system is, in comparison to the other one, is if we then need to make that adjustment, if we need to adjust the toe, well, we don't have to take the wheel off. We can just get straight in there and do it. We lift it up, adjust, and then we can measure again immediately. So it's a lot faster. Again, it's geared for a race team that needs to make that adjustment there and then. Last thing on the alignment system as well, you might see behind, that's the flight case that it comes in. That's where the measuring wheels go in, the scales go in. You can see the carbon fiber track width measurement tool there, as well as all the digital aspect, and it all packs up in that flight case so you can take it from race to race. It's nicely transportable as well. A couple more things on the kit itself, just a couple of details to pick out which are quite nice to mention. The roof fins you can see there. The standard car comes with the two outer ones. Again, the main purpose is we've got warm air coming out of the radiators at the front, and we want to divert that away from the engine air intake, the ram air. So we've added these extra 6 strakes at the roof here. Porsche actually wanted to include those on the standard car, on the GT3 RS, but in production, the roof, through assembly, the roof would be mounted into the vehicle and then obviously bonded, and it gets lifted by a machine. So if you have these roof fins on there, the machine can't lift it. So the only reason Porsche didn't add these is because of the production process. So when it came to developing the Manthey Kit, it was, right, well, let's bring them on now. So this is actually a Porsche development. And you can see at that rear wing, two key aspects here. One is the DRS system. On the standard car, we have the lower panel, and then one DRS panel at the top. You'll see here this has two DRS panels at the top, and then this again is to activate air to create more downforce and essentially just keep the car pushing down at the rear. And then on the rear end, on the rear wing end plates, you'll see, as well as them being slightly flared out, and again that's airflow coming up through the side here and coming up around the car. They want to guide that airflow. You'll see these outlets and the cutout as well. Any of you Formula One fans used to watch in the 90s maybe? Yeah? Do you remember them driving in the rain and you'd see the squirrel mark? That's what you're seeing there is drag. So that cutout and then the outlet is basically combating that drag, and it's neutralizing it essentially. So all of these things are very, very functional. Question?
Sorry. I'm still wrestling with the idea that there's more downforce with no additional drag.
Yeah.
That sounds
unachievable?
Yes. So at least with the physics that I know. So is there any way that you can just touch on it a little bit? How is something like that achieved?
Essentially, a lot of time development in the wind tunnel. I mean, everything has a compromise, right? So when it comes to aero, you can put an effect in which will create more downforce, but yes, typically that will increase the drag as well. So it's how can you then combat and counteract that drag. And things like the aero discs, which I'll show you one here. Here's one of the aero discs. These alone are one of the big contributors to minimizing drag or reducing drag, because typically when you get warm air coming from the front and it's turbulent, and then that mixes with turbulent air off the rear wheel as well, that just causes drag. So if you can add this, it smooths that out and it stops the drag occurring, and therefore you can just have downforce without drag. So hence why I said earlier it's a balance around the whole vehicle as opposed to one individual component which is going to be a plus or minus effect.
I think you mentioned yesterday too that if there were more drag because of emissions and fuel economy, it would have to be recertified.
That's correct, yeah. As I mentioned earlier on, yes. So yeah, we have to, these kits are offered in a lot of countries, not just the US, so they have to comply with certain regulations around. So again, this is the effort, the time and patience that has to be spent in developing these kits. So we really take that race craft experience, that experience with cars like the GT3R, and then apply it to these Manthey kits for the road. So yeah, we're very happy to do it. We continue to look to build the brand of Manthey here in the US, and again, this is hopefully the first of many IMSA seasons, and we keep looking at ways that we can share this information, and yeah, I'm really grateful for your attention and thanks for listening. I'll be around for a few minutes yet. I do generally have a flight to catch, but yeah, I'll be around for a few minutes certainly if anybody's got any questions. Otherwise, I'd like to thank you all for your time and for your questions too.